Guys, go ahead and kick back. This tagline's going to take me about 20 minutes.
I've kicked.
All right. Warning. If you see the stuff in stores, call the police. If you have it in your home, don't touch it. Get out. The stuff is a product of nature, a deadly living organism. It is addictive and destructive. It can overcome your mind and take over your body, and nothing can stop it. Welcome to I Hope You Suffer.
Oh my
That's not
goodness.
catchy. That's not a catchy tagline at all.
Hard agree. I think I got it memorized.
What? What?
Oh, definitely just cutting it at that. This is episode 97 of I Hope You Suffer. My name is Nathan.
I'm Kit.
Goodness. Hello, I'm Katie.
Why did Katie just walk it over Kit?
No, he finished.
um, did he?
Hmm.
Just gonna let it be silent. No. So this week we watched 1985's The Stuff, which was picked by Kit as a good movie that he enjoys. Kit, do you want to say why this is the one you picked?
Uh, it was the first good thing I saw on streaming. Nah, I love this movie. It's one of my like comfort watching ones.
Yeah.
So, like if I can ever find something on, I'm like, I'm gonna watch the stuff. 'Cause, Larry Cohen rules, and so does God damn it, I'm blanking on his name. Michael Moriarty.
Yeah.
Thought you were gonna say Danny Aiello.
Danny Aiello also rules.
I would say you could almost never go wrong with like a Larry Cohen movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I like obviously Kid had seen it. I've seen it a bunch of times. This movie is great. This is like one of those perfect like cheesy movies that's actually good, if that makes sense. Which I
Yeah, it's
feel like
not. It doesn't take itself very seriously at all.
yeah, like I
Mm-mm.
feel like it's usually listed as like a horror comedy, even though I kind of disagree with that tag a little bit. Uh, but like I also get it. So, Katie, this was your first time watching it. What did you think?
I liked it. Um, yeah. I don't. It was just very strange. Like I felt almost like this could have been like like one of those like weird Stephen King stories, like where he's got some like weird like vampire pickle or something like that. So I liked I liked it because of that. Obviously, it was made in '85, so it has a lot of that like still early '80s like charm, like everyone's wearing short shorts and whatever. Um, I it I would watch it again. I don't know that it would be a favorite for me though.
It's a really good like Kit said, like a comfort kind of background movie.
Yeah, because I feel like there were a lot of parts where I don't know if it was the acting or if it was the script was just like weird for me. But I
That's
did
the
like.
Moriarty special.
Oh, okay.
It it's got one of my favorite quotes too from Michael Moriarty. And no one is as dumb as I appear to be.
That was a pretty good one.
So this movie, written and directed by Larry Cohen, starring Michael Moriarty, Andrea Marcovici, Garrett Morris, Danny Aiello. I did not have time to look up if any of these people were ever in Seinfeld.
I'm sure somebody was.
I feel like Abe Vigoda probably was.
Hmm.
Let's see.
I feel like Paul Sorvino might have been.
I'll figure it out. Well, oh, he was in MacGyver. Well, oh,
Close enough.
got Murder She Wrote. That's basically
It's
Seinfeld.
basically
Same thing.
Seinfeld.
Wait, this is Jury Duty, the Pauly Shore movie? Oh, I don't see Seinfeld on it. Oh, Mad About You.
Also, basically Seinfeld.
I think close enough.
Yeah, I don't know. That's pretty much all I have for notes. I didn't take any for this one because we figured this was gonna double as like Kit's pick and a movie Katie hadn't seen before, so she's gonna take over and tell us about the stuff. I'll tell you if any of these people were ever in Seinfeld in a little bit.
Okay. Hello. Today we're talking about stuff. This movie. Oh yeah, I was gonna say I think my favorite part of this movie was that it's like in and out, like, so you have this like overall story obviously, but then there's like product ads and like storefronts for the stuff everywhere, and I really enjoyed like the commercials.
Yes.
Because they were like very 80s and ridiculous.
I feel like this movie and the RoboCop movies are the ones that do commercials like the best.
I love it. My favorite part is the Stuff fashion show where they're wearing bathing suits with fur coats over top of them and feeding each other the stuff. Okay, so this movie just really just starts. It's like full force right out of the gate, and there's just an old man. He's walking around in the snow, and he sees some white stuff sort of pulsating on the ground. So, you know, of course he decides he's gonna taste it. Like, why not?
Yeah, that's
and
what you do.
It looked delicious.
It does. You know what it?
What's this ground cream? I'm in.
I mean, you know, someone had to discover cream puff filling somehow. This movie actually made me like really hungry because the stuff obviously is like it looks like fluff, which I don't know if like that is, if I don't know.
Yeah, like
you guys know what
marshmallow
fluff is, right? Yeah, so it's like marshmallow spread. And when I was little, like it was something that was like a taboo thing in my house. Like my mom would not buy fluff. But my rich friend who lived down the street always had fluff, and she had Doritos. So I used to make peanut butter.
Get it. You had friends. Just keep bragging.
I had one friend.
No need to brag.
I said my one rich friend.
Yeah, but that just means you have a bunch of poor friends.
That's everybody else. So we would have peanut butter fluff and nacho Dorito sandwiches, and it was like the best thing
sounds
ever.
Horrible.
Oh my god, it's so good. It's so good, and it also reminded me of oatmeal cream pies, which are my favorite. So I was like, God, now I need something.
I find it very weird that the Dorito sandwich reminded you of an oatmeal cream pie.
No, just the fluff.
Oh, okay.
But also,
like, I feel like that doesn't taste the same at all.
No, it doesn't.
I really hope you use like the Doritos as the sandwiches, like the sandwich instead of bread.
I didn't, but I would.
Were they spicy nacho Doritos?
No, they're just regular nacho Doritos. I don't know if spicy was out. Like, when did spicy Doritos come out?
No idea.
I don't either.
We'll have to get a Doritologist on here.
Ooh, I want to be a Doritologist.
Same. That sounds way better than whatever dumb shit I'm doing with my life right
now. Okay, so it just, I don't know. I just really want oatmeal cream pie. Delicious. Okay, so he tries it, and he's like, oh man, this shit's good. And some other guy comes over and is like, what are you, taking a piss or something? And he's like, no, I'm eating this ground cream. And he tries it, and immediately they're like, we're gonna sell this to people. Like, damn, we are just, it's like 1 minute into the movie, and we are just going.
Welcome to capitalism.
Yeah. Oh my god, yeah, this movie hit different right now. So then this little boy who I don't know if Jason is his name. He's like one of the main characters, sort of. He doesn't really do a lot except scream and run around. But he wakes up in the middle of the night, and he goes downstairs to get like a glass of water or something. And he opens the fridge, and there's a container of the stuff. And it's like oozing around, and he's like, oh my god, this shit's moving. This is where I wrote it looks like fluff. Then his dad like shows up, and it's just like, he does this. I do this This is probably not. I do this thing to like one the cats if they're like doing something they're not supposed to. I walk up behind them and I go, "What are you doing?" really fast like that, and that's like essentially what he did to this kid. He was like, "You scared me," even though like he was the one that scared him. Whatever. Um, and
I
he's
just
like,
have this image of you now just skulking around the house trying to scare your cats.
I don't, but like they jump, cats
Yeah.
do whatever they want. So like sometimes they'll like get up on the counter, which I really don't like, and that's when I yell at them. Anyways, all cats are perfect angels, but so yeah, the dad so basically his parents are just like dickheads and they're just like mean to this child, and the dad's like, "Get out of here." And the dad just like just like eats the stuff. And he's kind of like, "Hey, this stuff is weird." And he's just like, "Go back to sleep. Don't do this shit anymore." And I was like, "Damn." This first commercial though is like I wrote super weird, the stuff commercial, because it's like this lady and she's just like, "I used to think that ice cream was my favorite, but now it's this." I don't know. It's just like very strange. So it's just like a stuff commercial. Then we see this group of men that I call Big Ice Cream. They're talking about, they're like, "Man, ice cream used to be the shit, and now the stuff is the shit, and like we need to figure out why it's so good. So let's hire these spies to like industrial spies to like sneak in and like figure out the recipe, I guess."
What's sad is that's a real thing that happens.
Oh, I'm sure. It's like trying to get the secret recipe to the Krabby Patty. It's like, it's crucial.
I'm very mad you didn't
Not
go.
everyone can hire Mo Rutherford, though.
I'm just mad you didn't go with the better reference of the Flaming Mo.
I was going to go Good Burger next, so you were just going to be disappointed no matter what. So then they're just like talking about they're just talking about how basically like the FDA approved the stuff, and then basically everybody who was like on that patent like left, either is like on vacation or like doesn't work there anymore, and they're like, "That's suspicious." So this is when you get introduced to like like the actual main character, whose name is, I don't remember his real first name, but I refer to him as Rutherford the whole time.
Mo.
And yeah, he had a real first name though.
David.
David
Mo Rutherford.
David Mo Rutherford. And do you want to tell people why they call him Mo?
Fuck was it? Because anytime someone gives him money, he always wants Mo.
There you go. It's like, what a weird way to introduce yourself. And he like introduces himself like that to everybody. So they basically bring like him in, who I guess he used to be part of the FBI, but got kicked out or something, and now he's just like a private investigator ? And it turns out that basically he had like bugged the guy that hired him. And I wasn't really paying attention to like what they were saying at this point, but like essentially he's just like, "Hey, give me money. Here you go. Here's money." He's like, "Thanks for the job," and then he like punches this FBI guy that was there for ? reason. I'm not really sure. So now we're back at Jason's house, and his breakfast. His parents are like eating breakfast and like being jerks, and his brother, who has the scariest blue eyes I've ever seen in my life. He was like so intense looking. I don't
think I've noticed.
He was scary. Is basically like I don't know. They're all just a bunch of jerks to Jason, essentially, because Jason comes down and the mom's like, I don't know. He's like, "I'm sick," and the dad's like, "Well, you missed 3 days of school, and you're not missing more school." And she's like, "Let me make you breakfast." And then she's like, "Have this stuff," and he's like, "No, this stuff is gross. It's spoiled. It's bad, and it moves around by itself." And his parents are just like, "Ha ha ha," and then like one of his family members just like picks it up and eats it, and he's just like, "This is fucked up." This is where you get the stuff fashion show. which is the bathing suits and the fur coats. And I didn't realize that her name was Nicole. I think her name is Nicole Kendall, and I was calling her Kindle the whole time. So I might,
Close enough.
Famously, I call people by 3 different names, so it doesn't matter. So Nicole is there, and she's basically just like the PR agent for the stuffs. She like makes all the advertisement and the commercials and all that. So Mo Rutherford decides that he's gonna go there. He interrupts her fashion show very rudely and is like, "I don't wait in line, and I bet you didn't get how you got by waiting in line. Am I right?" And she's like, "What?" And he basically pretends that he wants her to be a PR person for petroleum, and he's like, "Yeah, I need you to make everyone think that petroleum is their friend." And she's like, "Well, I mean, no, I have the job. I have this job." And he's just like, "Well, I'm going to buy your agency and I'm going to put you in charge." Then she's like, "Well, that changes everything." And then they immediately go back to his hotel, and now they're in love.
Yeah.
For the rest of the movie,
Why not?
I guess. Then so for some reason, Jason's at a grocery store and he sees this little boy eating some stuff, and he like assaults the little boy. And the mom is like, "What the fuck are you doing? Get away from my child." And he like runs, and then he like takes a rake and starts like smashing all the stuff that's everywhere, smashing out displays and like smashing out glass. And I was just like, Jesus Christ.
I approve.
He just like,
smash up grocery stores.
I mean, it like, especially if you're a child, you can't really get in that much trouble, you know? And then we go back to
Real quick. Clara Peller is in this movie. I don't know who this is, but her last credit was WWE pay-per-view on WWE Network.
like what it like
I think she was in WrestleMania 2.
Oh, damn. Doing what, I wonder?
I don't know. She just said she was herself in it.
Oh, good for her,
Also,
I guess.
apparently Patrick Dempsey is in this movie uncredited. And Mira Sorvino.
Huh.
Oh, underground stuff buyer.
Yeah.
You know. No, number 2. Number 2.
Yeah, he's not number 1. He wasn't at that level in his career yet.
No. Huh. Weird. So now some of these like executive people, like I did not know who they were really. So Rutherford goes to interview this guy named Mr. Vickers, who I guess, oh geez. Sorry, Maytel just tried to jump up on me and she missed and scratched my leg.
I mean, you shouldn't have been sitting there.
I know, I did kick her off my notes. She was trying to talk to me about it.
How dare you?
I'm sorry, Maytel. So he goes to talk to Mr. Vickers, who I guess just worked on the patent for this stuff. And there's like this weird stuff with like his dog Ben, where like the dog is angry, but it's like weird in the beginning because he seems like really nervous of the dog, and the dog seems like he doesn't like the guy. And Mo is just sort of like, okay, this is really strange. And Mr. Vickers basically tells him, like, just like says some like stuff about the patent, I guess, for the stuff, and gives him like these documents, and he's just like, yeah, you can have these. They're not classified. And while he's like upstairs getting the papers, Mo finds like that that Vickers has a closet full of the stuff, and so you're like, okay. And then like something happens in between this. I didn't write it down, but then you like flash back and Ben is like attacking Mr. Vickers, and he's like, I'll get more, Ben. And then there's just like stuff foaming out of the dog's mouth. So you're like, okay. All right. So then Mo goes to Stadler, Virginia, because that's apparently where this stuff was discovered. And it's a really small town that's like super weird, and the gas attendant is basically just like, yeah, I don't know what. It's like really weird because he's like, fill it up, and he's like, okay, and he starts filling it up, and he's just like, where is everybody? And he's like, nobody works here, and he was like, just put $20 in there, and I was like, what? Why? But then he like runs away, and I don't know if you ever see him again, because like, I don't know, it's very strange.
I think so.
Yeah, I don't think you do.
So Mo just is like, I guess he's just gonna mosey around, and he like walks off, and that's when the gas guy like runs, and then he's like checking out this car. Oh, it's just like super abandoned and weird and old looking, which is like looks like most of Virginia, to be honest. But then Mo gets attacked by my favorite character, Chocolate Chip Charlie.
Yeah. The best.
His hands are registered weapons, all right?
That's right. I am sad because I liked him a lot. So he basically is, showed up there too because he ran or like owned a chocolate chip cookie factory, and the people who are the company behind this stuff basically like went behind his back and bought out the company shares from like, it's really shitty too because he was like in business with like his cousins and his brother, and they just like sold all their stocks and share in the company, so he lost it, which really sucks because that shit is real. And so basically he like showed up there to try and like figure out like what was going on because their mail was forwarded to Statler, Virginia, and so that's how he got the address. So then they figured out that the address is the, corner general store / also the post office. And so this is when they're talking to like the store clerk, and he's super weird. Basically, they figure out that all of the mail that's being forwarded to Virginia is now being forwarded to Midland, Georgia. And so like everybody who used to live there that was involved in this stuff, I guess essentially moved to Georgia, and they're like trying to ask him stuff, and he's just like, hold on a moment, I'll be right back. And like the most suspicious looking person ever like gets up and like slowly walks to the back and like goes through a door or whatever, and it's very weird. And so like so basically they're just like, okay, this is weird, like we need to break in there or whatever. Maybe he screams or something, I don't remember. And they end up busting in there, and he's just like laying on the floor, and seems like he is dead. He's just like laying there, and his mouth is really gross. It's like a stretchy mouth. And you also see the stuff, which like I think we already described what it is, but it's basically just like a white gloopiness. So like sometimes it looks like foam, sometimes it looks like soap sud, like, but it's like a blob.
That's basically just like the blob, but white.
Yeah, essentially. So you see it like slide out the window, and
very sneaky.
Yeah.
Sneaky stuff.
And they follow it and are attacked by like a couple of like the townsmen. And then like I feel like this part to me was like fine. There's a part later that the graphics like really don't work for me. But at this point, like they punch one of the guys in the face, and his face just like shatters or something. It's like really strange. It like punches him, and then there's like nothing in his face. Like no bones.
Hollowed out by the stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like very strange, which I mean, geez, that would really freak me out. And then they're like, oh no, let's get in this boat. And so they get in a boat and they float away. Meanwhile, you find out the general store clerk is actually fine. He gets up. And then Mo and Charlie, Triple C, just go to a diner. And I was like, weren't you just being chased? And
yeah, they build up an appetite.
Guess so.
If you're ever being chased, dip into a diner, because no one will expect you to have stopped to get a bite to eat, because they think you'll still be running.
I mean, that's true, because it seems really stupid.
That's why it's the smartest decision.
Noted. Charlie orders some chocolate chip cookies, which is sweet. And then Mo is like, "Do you have any of the stuff?" And says it like really loud and looks around, like I guess to gauge the reaction. And the waitress is basically just like, "No, we don't got that stuff." But guess what? They do. They have a whole freezer worth of the stuff. So I don't know why she's lying to him. Um, and then Mo tells Charlie, he's like, "We're gonna split up. You go to DC and go talk to the FBI. There's like the specific agent I want you to talk to." Charlie's like, "All right." And Mo just like bums a ride from somebody. So, then there's like this weird scene of like, there's this girl that's like selling out of like a little ice cream cart kind of thing for this stuff. And she's like on a radio and she's like, "There he is." And the stuff company like truck tries to run him over. And he just seems very unbothered by this. It's just like another one of those movies where like stuff happens to the characters, but they don't seem to care, except for like the one female character who's just like hysterical the entire time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It happens.
I mean, that's the 80s, I guess. Yeah, tries to run him over. He doesn't really care. He goes to interview another guy who, like, I assume he's the president of the stuff. Is that correct?
The president of the stuff.
Yeah.
King Stuff.
King Stuffy. Because like he's like the CEO of the company that like distributes it or something, because like he's at the end also. But basically Mo is kind of like, "Hey, I know some shady's going on here. Like, you better tell me what it is." And he's like, "No." And he's like, "Okay. Well, I'm gonna kill you." And he was just like, "How about I offer you a job instead?" And Mo just like takes the money and leaves. I was like, all right.
I like how much of this movie is just like people getting jobs based on like, I'm not doing this. Well, you're hired. I'm gonna kill you. Well, you're hired.
Yeah. It's kind of like in King of the Hill when Peggy wrote that like tried to write that expose on like that realtor and Nathan not Nathan Sizemore. His last name is Sizemore. It's Sizemore Realty. But he's like she gets fired from the paper for writing it, and then he's just like, "You're hired," and hires her. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. So then you get a scene about Mo talking to Nicole about how like, and like at this point he doesn't have any evidence, but for some reason they're talking about how like he needs to go talk to somebody like with his evidence. And he's like, "Well, I can't really do that yet. Like I need concrete evidence because I'm not really that credible." And I was like, that's not great. And then she suggests like, "Why don't you just talk to Ralph Nader?" Which like, I guess. And he's kind of like, "Nah." And this is where Mo reads in the paper about how Jason, like destroyed that grocery store. So we're back to Jason, and he comes downstairs and finds that like basically his family has thrown out all of their regular food and just has been eating the stuff instead. There's like a trash bag full of the stuff containers. And they're all very weird. The dad, so basically Jason is like, "Hey, I'm not going to eat that. I saw it move." And so the dad is like trying to convince them that it's just microorganisms. And like
Normal.
like, in like bacteria. He's like, "Yeah, there's bacteria in yogurt, and there's yeast in bread, and all of those move just because you can't see it." And Jason's basically just like, "I know I'm like 7, but like I don't believe you." Now he's probably like 10. I don't know how old kids are. But Jason's basically just like, "No, this is whack." And tries to run, but then his brother grabs him, and he's just like, "Okay, I'm normal again, I guess." They give him some of the stuff. Basically, they're like, "You're going to be a part of this family, and we gave you your own room, and you get everything you want. Why can't you do this one thing for us?" Which was like a really weird argument, but he's like, "All right." Oh my God. So then he takes the stuff up to they're like, instead of like sitting him down and being like, I want to watch you eat this, they're like, take this up to your room and don't come down until you eat this whole tub of stuff. And he's like,
Ugh.
oh yep, I'm sure gonna do it. But he goes up to the bathroom and dumps the stuff in the toilet. It kind of goops around a little bit. And then he fills the container with Barbasol, which for people who don't know, that's like shaving cream, which I can't even imagine. And he comes downstairs, and this is like one of my favorite scenes. His brother is like looking, he's got like these crazy, like, like cardboard 3D glasses on, and he's looking at like a 3D book, which those books used to be like my favorite thing ever, and they're pretty shitty when you think about it, though. And Jason's just like, hey, you guys were right. This is delicious. And eats the Barbasol, eats like 5 spoonfuls of it, which is like freaking gross. And then I guess this part kind of confused me because he puts the container down and runs out of the house, I assume to throw up. And then they figure out that it's Barbasol and not the stuff, and so they chase him. Or I don't know if he just was like using that as his way to escape. I don't know. But he runs out, and like Mo pulls up in the car, is like, get in, and there's this really weird scene where they just zoom in really close on Jason's face, and he goes, who are you? And I don't know why, but it made me laugh really hard because it was just like so out of nowhere. And so he jumps in the car and drives away, and Jason's just like, I'm sorry, I think I threw up in your car. And like Mo really nonchalantly is just like, hey, like, yeah, I noticed. He's like, I'm sorry. And he just like so matter-of-factly was just like, I ate some spoonfuls of Barbasol. Like, it was totally a normal thing to be doing. Like, I don't know. That seems pretty funny.
Well, everybody has to eat shaving cream once in a while.
Yeah, like, it's fine. It just is like their nonchalance I thought was very funny. And his family says something really creepy, like Jason's like, I'm tired, I need to go to sleep, and he was just like, we never have to sleep now that we're eating healthy. And I was like, ah, gross. So they drive to the airport where Nicole is waiting, and they fly to Midland, Georgia. So I don't know, there's just like some back and forth between them, and essentially Nicole and Mo are gonna go to the factory, and the kid Jason is supposed to stay there, and I think he says something like, hey, if we're not back by such and such time, like, you fly him somewhere else or something. I don't know. So Mo and Nicole get picked up by like some of the stuff company guys, and he's kind of like questioning them, and it's like going back and forth between like them at the factory and the plane. So back at the plane, that store clerk from earlier pops up and just like, I don't know, there's a bunch of stuff in the plane now, and it gets the pilot, but Jason escapes. He's fine. There's a bunch of factory stuff that happens, and Jason, yeah, I don't know. Mo is like taking pictures, even though I'm pretty sure one of the guys was like, hey, stop taking pictures, but he's doing it anyway, and they're totally fine with it. And you can see like, like huge vats of stuff being like mixed up, and it looks just like a normal factory. Meanwhile, Jason is, I don't know, somewhere on the factory site or something, and he is, like hiding from the workers, and he hides in one of those huge trucks that usually carries like coffee or like gas or something. So it's like one of those big silver, I don't know how to explain it. Like, yeah. And, he gets down in there, which seems like just such a bad idea. So basically you just get like this, Mo is basically saying that like you have to eat enough of it, and then it's like the stuff takes hold of you and like controls you or whatever. So like they're going back to their hotel, and there's like a little stuff that happens. They fall asleep, And then all of a sudden, the stuff just comes like oozing out of their pillow, and it's just like so weird to think that they just were like laying on
It's like a
it and
waterbed.
didn't notice. I mean, not. I mean, it oozes out of the pillow and like attaches to his
I'm
face.
getting you a pillow with the stuff in it for Christmas this year.
That's okay.
That sounds so comfy.
Yeah.
I'm in.
I mean,
I'll sleep well and die in my sleep.
It's a
Winning combo.
what
that's
a
the dream.
dream.
Yes, yeah. At this point. So yeah, the thing's attacking his face. Nicole immediately decides that she's gonna burn it and, lights his face on fire. Meanwhile, she's just like screaming and the carpet's on fire and his face is on fire. But he like gets the blob of the stuff like off his face and it like slaps on the wall. Then some other guy, random guy, just comes in and like attacks him. And I just wrote, the bed squirts out so much stuff. It basically is just like a fire hydrant of like
Well, you don't realize
stuff.
that's not really stuff.
I didn't. Okay, so this is
It's
another
just because
scene.
it's a motel room.
I know this is another scene I had it paused, and so the stuff is just like launching out of the bed, and it's like splattered onto the wall, and it's like it's like pinning this guy to the wall, and then like that was another scene where he walked in, and I was just like, just don't ask at this point. I
He was
don't
like,
know,
I'm watching
man. I don't know.
porn, get out.
I mean, essentially, it's what it seemed like. So this guy is just like spinning around on the wall. And then they light it on fire. This whole scene looked pretty cool because like it looked to me like they filmed this just like on the ground, but then turned it upside down so that the stuff is like running up the wall. And like I thought it looked really cool. And the guy's just like slip sliding all in it and stuff. And I assume he died. I don't know. Because they basically set the whole hotel on fire, and then steal that guy's truck and are driving around, and they're like, okay, we got to go back to the factory, but then they see the tanker trucks like leaving, and they're like, okay, well, let's follow the tanker trucks. So they follow them up to this like quarry where they look down and it's basically just like a big lake of the stuff with stuffed creatures like glooping around in there. It's pretty gross. I don't know how to describe the creatures. They're like,
They're gloop monsters.
yeah.
Street sharks.
Ooh, pretty good. All white street sharks.
Street
Albino shark.
shark's about to become like our new like running thing.
Everything.
it.
Everything is street sharks.
Listen, I love street sharks. Let's see. Yeah, they're just gooping around. So basically, this is where you find out that they're basically just like harvesting whatever this stuff is, and they're not actually manufacturing at all. And they just like have the trucks that they come up, they suck it out of this like stuff pit with like all of the stuffed creatures are just like excreting it, I guess. And he's like, the only way that anyone's gonna believe me is if we steal a truck with the stuff in it. And I was like, I feel like there could be another way, but that's fine. So luckily, he's also stolen one of the yellow jumpsuits that all of the workers wear. So he puts that on and then sends. Meanwhile, you get like a shot of Jason in one of the trucks, and it's about to be filled with the stuff, and he's like, "Oh shit." He sends Nicole off to like go meet him in the road somewhere, and that's Mo. And Mo starts like planting bombs, which I didn't actually know that they were bombs until they go off later. So I don't know. They were like very strange looking. Just like plants a bunch of bombs around the pit.
One of the trivia things for this movie is Chocolate Chip Charlie was inspired by famous Amos cookies.
Wow, really?
Also, apparently, in the there's a scene in the movie where like the stuff is chasing some characters, and the foam was made out of blended fish bones and smelled so bad they had to jump in a river afterwards to get it like washed off.
Jesus
Ew.
Christ.
Sounds horrendous.
Like what? Ew.
I mean, essentially, it's
Um,
just gelatin because that's what like gelatin is, which seems very terrible.
I thought gelatin was like ground up horse
That's
hooves.
fish bones. Well, I don't know if
Ah,
it's necessarily fish bones, but it's bone.
What if it's fish hooves?
could
Ooh,
be from seahorses.
good question.
Mm, the world may never know. Um, Jason.
Clara Peller is the Where's the Beef lady. That's why she was at WrestleMania too.
Oh, that makes so much sense. Okay.
Does it?
Yeah. I don't know if you know a lot about the WWE, but that makes
I
a lot of sense.
shockingly I don't.
Well, that's where the beef was.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
Andre the Giant.
I do know Andre the
He was
Giant.
the beef.
Yeah, he was the beef.
Oh, I thought he was the giant.
Yeah, giant
The
beef.
giant beef.
Man, who knew? Um, okay, so basically, like, Mo is gonna go steal a truck, and he hears Jason inside the tank, basically like shit talking the stuff, and he's just like, "Oh man, I'm gonna steal." So he steals the truck that Jason's in and flies away, drives away, and then that's when the bombs go off, and the blast basically like covers the entire pit with the stuff pit with rocks and shit. Nicole's just like chilling. She gets attacked by the store clerk, and then he is run over by Mo's truck, and he just like explodes.
As you do.
So yeah, he just was like a flap of rubber at this point. Um, this was like one of the scenes to me that was like really strange because it was like a green. They just like Jason was like superimposed over this scene of like the stuff gooping in the back of the truck, and I was like, hmm. But Mo saves him, and so they they drive off, and a cop pulls them over, and Mo is basically just like, hey, we need to get rid of him because like the stuff owns everybody in this town. We can't trust the cops, which same.
Yeah, nothing changes.
Yeah. So they basically get pulled over, and the cop is like, get out of the car. They all get out. They notice that some of the stuff is like leaking out of the hose in the back of the truck, and they pretend that they're basically just like, wow, yum, I'm so hungry. Man, aren't you hungry? Let's go have some stuff. And so the cop obviously is like, yeah, I'm gonna chow down. And then Mo just like karate chops him, and they're back on the road. So they're like driving, and now it's daytime, and they arrive at a castle. And I don't know. I think Mo says something like, "Oh yeah, it's just like this colonel guy who like I bugged one time, so I know who he is." And so Mo goes in to talk to, I think his name is Colonel Spears,
Yes.
which is Paul
Question mark?
Sorvino. Yeah.
Colonel Paul.
Colonel Paul Spears.
Spears Vino.
Yes, I love it. And he's basically like so he's like a colonel, right? But then Mo is like, hey, remember how like they were putting fluoride in our water? Well, this is the same thing, but it's the communists, and they're doing it to control us. And the colonel's just like, I knew it. It's just like I said. And you're like, oh my God. So he basically like tricks him into teaming up, and he's like, oh, I own these radio stations. So like he's essentially Dale Gribble of the movie. He's like, I own these radio stations. Like, we need to get to these stations so that we can like broadcast to everybody that this is happening, right? And but I guess first they're gonna like break into the factory. So was the guy who was driving the truck at this point, was he one of the soldiers? Or just like some random guy?
Kit, do you know?
I don't recall.
Yeah, I
Well,
don't
because they
remember.
basically like use the truck as like a Trojan horse, right? They pull up and this guy's like, "Hey, I found this truck abandoned on the side of the road. Like, I figured you guys would want it." And the factory worker's like, "Yeah, come on in." And he's like, "Oh, like, are you gonna give me a reward?" And he's like, yeah, here's your reward." And he just like shoots him in the cheek. And I was like, "Oh, was he? I don't know." Because then all of the soldiers like storm in to the factory. And there's like all this like inspirational music playing. And oh yeah, and then the colonel like he shoots the worker and is like, "Man, I like the sight of blood, but this is disgusting." I was like, "Okay."
Very weird.
I mean, it is pretty gross. So basically, like they're storming the factory. There's like this announcement that's like, "Hey, we're being attacked. Like, do the usual protocol," which I guess is they just go like essentially you don't really know what's happening at this point still. They like come into the factory and they enter this one room where all of the workers are just like dead. And they're just like laying there on the floor and their mouths are all gross.
Capitalism for you.
Yeah, right. So the colonel like busts one of their heads open and it's just like dust. And he's like talking about how they're the KGB tactics and this, that, and the other thing. And Nicole is just like, we don't want to be seeing this. Like she's, freaks out and like takes Jason and tries to like leave, but then somehow they end up in this room where the stuff is coming after them and it's like filling up the room and they're like jumping in all of these like bins to like get out. And then as soon as they like get out of the building, the stuff just like gushes out of the building and like destroys it, I guess. I don't know. It's just like gushing out of everywhere. 'Cause yeah.
Well, the stuff is a gusher.
Gusher.
Non-stop gushing.
I love gushers also.
That's filled with the stuff.
That's fine. They have these spicy gushers that are like very
no.
delicious.
What?
Yeah, it's
That
like
sounds awful.
Katie has some weird thing about like weird sweet food with like spicy nacho chips or something. What's happening?
Is it like a spiced pickle gusher? Like,
ooh, that would be good. No, the
no,
ones
that
that
would
they
not
have.
be good.
You
What?
are off the podcast.
There are other people out there that will agree with me that spicy candy is good.
No, I agree. I don't. I feel like spicy gushers sounds horrendous. Or
well, because it's kind of like
spicy pickle chips with like marshmallow fluff.
Well, I didn't eat this. I would try that, but I haven't tried that. Though they're really good. There's like a watermelon, a peach, and I don't remember the other one, and they make spicy fruit by the foot versions too, and they're so good. It's just like eating spicy peach salsa. Well, I guess some people don't like fruit and salsa.
I do not.
I do. I like fruit and everything.
What about I don't know, I got nothing. Go ahead.
Whatever it was, probably I like it. What was happening? Gushers, right. So
per usual, gushers happening.
Gushers, yeah. So the colonel is like, okay, let's leave now. Though this is when he's like, I own a radio station, like, let's go, we'll tell everybody about it. And then on the way over there, the colonel is like talking to Nicole about how like people don't like him and like he wants to know basically if like she will be his PR person so that like people will like him. And I was like, wow. So they land at the airport. This is one of my favorite parts. So like him and all of the soldiers land at the airport and they've ordered like 10 taxis. And so they're all like running up and the taxi cab driver is like, what is this, World War III? And he goes, no more of your liberal remarks. I was like, okay. So they get to the radio station and Nicole's basically going to write like the report that Mo's going to read about like the stuff. And then Chocolate Chip Charlie shows back up and the colonel is super racist to him and essentially is kind of like, I don't want like this guy in here, like he's got to leave. And then he's basically just like, hey, I'm a private citizen and I have rights and I have something to say, so like I'm gonna say stuff. And he's like, well, okay, I guess. So Charlie like goes off with Nicole to like write up, and like one of my favorite parts, and she's just like, so you're prepared to say that you've seen people devoured by the stuff? And he goes, oh hell yes. And he's just like really excited about it. And then gotta pour one out for my homie. So basically he's like, oh, not only have I seen it devour people, like I've seen what happens like after it vacates people's bodies. And she's like, what? Like how do you know about that? And then he basically has been stuffed.
Yeah.
So like he starts like convulsing and like making this gross sound, and then I don't really know how to describe what happens to his head at this point. This is like I Snapchatted Nathan this, and I was like,
what is like the
oh,
weird extended mouth?
yeah.
He becomes like a stuffed volcano.
Yeah, essentially. His head gets really big and like his mouth opens up super wide and like the stuff peeks out. It's like, hey, it's me.
These things happen.
I kind of wish it could talk or like make noises or something. If it was just like, "Brrrt,"
Yeah, what if it just made squeaky sounds?
I feel like it would
I
just
think-
like it would
It might.
sound like Pikachu, but not actually saying words.
Well, stop. Oh, Yoshi. Give it Yoshi voice. I like that. um. Okay. So she's like, oh, she is scared because his head is huge and stuff's coming out of it. And of course, Jason comes into the room because fucking Jason, always in the wrong place at the wrong
His
time.
head is huge and there's stuff coming out of it.
Yeah. The stuff. The stuff is so this is another scene that was like kind of weird to me because like Nicole and Jason are in this like sound booth, and the stuff is like in between both of them, and the stuff is like just glooping around. It's just like gloop gloop, and they're both just screaming, and it's like not really doing anything. It's just like, like probably I'm gonna eat you, but and then so like the Colonel and Mo show up and they're like, oh my God, oh no. And so Mo like breaks the booth glass like with the gun, and then they electrocute the stuff with the biggest electrical cords I have ever seen in my life. And it gets caught on fire, of course. So then after this, again, Jason just totally fine. You know, this is like the 12th time he's almost been killed, but he just like plops down at the booth and it's just like, I'm ready. So the Colonel goes on air, and this is when he says, I assume the tagline that you said, where he's basically just like, hey, if you have the stuff, get rid of it.
Memorized?
No.
Yeah.
If you, it's like, hey, if you got that stuff, get rid of it. If you sell that stuff, stop it. If you ate that stuff, don't do that anymore.
R.I.P.
Poop it out.
Like, essentially,
Yeah.
yes. And, he's just like, hey, stop. You cut that out. And then we just cut to Nicole telling the camera that everyone believed the broadcast, and they destroyed all the stuff. And then there's like pictures of like the factory exploding. There's like a news article about how like the quarry is still filled. And this truly is how you know that this movie is fake, because she says something about how the casualties were in the thousands, and the industry worked together with the government to save billions of lives and compensated everybody who was injured, like their medical bills and shit. And I'm like, that sure as shit is not what's happening right now.
That's how the world works.
In
That's
no
why-
world ever.
Right. That's how I was just like, oh, this movie's hitting me different right now. Because also the thing about how she literally was like, everybody believed the broadcast and did what they were supposed to do. And I was
Right.
like, there's no way. We've seen that. So then Mo goes back to see the President Stuffy from the beginning, and Big Ice Cream is there too. And basically, they have combined forces to create a new product that is called The Taste. And basically, it's a mix
Terrible
of
name. Terrible name.
okay, but
Disagree.
also
The
the
taste.
stuff. Like, could you imagine? I don't know. That's like part of what makes this whole thing so like hilarious to me is that it was just called The Stuff. And people were just like, yeah, this is the best thing I've ever had. Yeah, so it's called The Taste, and it's a mix of the stuff, basically diluted with dairy products, various dairy products. And so one of them says, like, yeah, so like it can't actually like take over your mind because you're not eating enough of it. And then Mo's like, I don't believe you. Why don't you take a taste of The Taste? And the guy's like, I don't really want to. So then Mo brings out a gun and is just like, you better taste, put that fucking shit in your mouth. And he's like, oh, okay. So then Jason comes in and basically like serves them and they eat all of it. There's like a lot of it. And essentially like you can tell that they're still messed up because after they eat like 50 of them, they're still like looking in the empty cartons for like more of it or whatever. And then I think Jason or one of them is like, we did it, I guess. And they just like walk out of the room. And then you see essentially what is like a drug deal going down, but instead of drugs, they have cases of the stuff.
Oh, gross.
The end.
It's a good movie.
I think it's worth a watch.
Yeah.
I had said like whenever you said that's what we were gonna do, I was stoked because I had it on my watch list for forever. Just I never watched it, so I feel like it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's like a pretty good like I can't like satire or whatever on the world and how terrible it is.
For sure. Like, yeah. And this is, like we said, made in 85 and it's like 2020 now. And it's like, ugh. I also really appreciate, like, there's not a lot of movies that I know of, like, in the genre where the thing that's, like, sort of, like, taking over and attacking you or whatever isn't, like, it's just like a blob, you know? It's not like a monster. It's not an alien. It's not like a creature. Like, it is a creature, but not really. It doesn't have, like, any characteristics because it's literally a blob.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't talk. It doesn't whatever, but it's, like, really nefarious anyways. And even more so because people are, like, facilitating it. I don't know. So, I don't know. I appreciated that. It was a breath of fresh stuff.
Ugh.
Woof.
All right. Do you have another Zach B tweet?
No, I don't. He hasn't really been. He's been mostly just like recently. They're gonna do a special. Do you guys know what the Dybbuk box is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically he has that in his like museum of horrors or whatever the hell he calls it,
Oh,
and
fuck that.
yeah, he has
Leave
like
that alone.
the original Dybbuk box. And there is like this whole story. Oh, shoot, I forget the rapper. There was a rapper that like
Post Malone.
yeah, was it Post Malone?
Yeah.
That's what I thought. Where he like visited the museum and touched the box, and then he had like all this crazy bad luck after, like he got in an car accident, I think, like immediately after it happened or whatever. I'm just like, that's like one of those items that like is the reason I do not want to go to Zach Bagans' House of Terror. Like that sounds terrible, but he's basically just been tweeting about like they're gonna do a special where they open the box, and it seems like a really bad idea to me.
Fuck. No, don't.
Yeah,
Why?
I don't like just gotta Zach Bagans is gonna Zach Bagans. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
you can't tell Zachy B what to do.
No, you can't. If he
Well,
wants to
I hope
dance
he at
to
least
reggae,
I hope he gets to high five the Dybbuk.
I mean, if he wants to dance to reggae in front of his dog, he's gonna do it.
All right. So hold on, I had a Weekly World News thing. Let me pull it up. Brad Pitt has been living with Matt Damon's nose since 1999.
Um, like his, like it's on, like he has it in a box, like a roommate,
No,
or
it's like
it's on
on his face.
face. Oh, all
Oh.
right.
I liked the roommate one. That's what I took it as.
Oh,
Like,
and
they were living together.
and vice versa. They switched noses.
Oh,
Oh, shit. Conspiracy time.
stunning.
Stunning.
All right. What the fuck? Did we do all the news in the last episode?
No, I have new news.
Okay, yeah, go for it.
In a further, Travel Channel just like ceases to amaze me with the things that they do. They're having a new show called The Osbournes Want to Believe, where
God.
son Osborne is going to show paranormal clips to Ozzy and Sharon to make them believe in the paranormal.
Just
Which,
fucking
not really sure.
let Ozzy fucking retire.
Like, right? Can you just
I'm in.
Also, I don't understand how you make a show about somebody watching clips. Like, I don't know. Just seems really strange to me.
Well, I mean, fucking the new world we're heading into, it's pretty much what it's gonna be, so.
Yeah.
We're living in a clip show.
Yeah.
Gosh. This reminds me how much I hate TikTok. I fucking hate it. It was a mistake. I've never seen a single funny thing on TikTok. Anyways,
Same.
I wasn't really a fan of Vine like back in the day either, and they're like literally the same thing. So, Junji Ito, they're gonna do a live action adaptation for Tomie, but it's going to be on Quibi, which I have no idea
Oh, that's
what
unfortunate.
that is. So
Quibi,
at first I was like,
Quibi's like an app where like all of the shows and shit on it are like 6 minutes long or something. Like, I
Why?
believe that's the deal, is that everything is supposed to be like short, kind of bite size.
Yeah, like 10 minutes max or something. I just saw a headline today that said they lost 90% of their users because they just like left after their free trials were up. So,
I mean, what is that a shock? Like that sounds dumb to
no.
me. I'm not really like I know a lot of people are like really into shorts and stuff like that, but that's not really, it's not just not my thing. So yeah, I was really excited when I first read it, and then I was like coming to Quibi, and I was like, God, somebody rip it. I'll watch it anyways.
Oh yeah, it'll get put up on something pretty quick, I assume.
Yeah. And then my last thing is that for Halloween we have 2 new one-shot anthologies coming from DC. So the first one is going to come out October 6th, and it is Legend of Swamp Thing. It sounds to me like it's like a little, like it's got like a bunch of different little stories in it, but I saw the cover. I don't know if it's going to be the actual cover like on the anthology, but I saw a poster for it today, and the artwork is so sick. Then the other one comes out like a week later, and it's called Doomed and Damned, and it stars Batman, Wonder Woman, and my favorite, Man-Bat, and the artwork for that looks super awesome also.
Man-Bat is a wildly underused character.
Hard
Yes.
agree. So like I like urge you to go like look at the art for both of them. It looks so good. And I really liked what was it called? The Long Halloween.
Yeah.
The art doesn't look like that at all, but I really liked like a lot of those things like that. So I'm looking forward to something like new, and I feel like I don't know. I mean, to me, Swamp Thing like also feels maybe not as like in the limelight or whatever. But I don't know.
Swamp Thing has like its moments of kind of being popular and then disappearing for a while.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know, and so I think that could be pretty cool. I didn't really see anything about like who the writers are going to be, so like that makes a pretty big difference for me, at least as far as like if I enjoy the comic or not. But sounds pretty cool.
Yeah. All right. Shout outs. I'll go first this week. I'm gonna say listen to the band United Nations. They're very good, and more people should listen to them. All right, you guys got anything?
I probably should have done this on the last
So you and
episode,
Katie.
but
Me too.
I'm gonna say Sasquatch. Go squatching. I just came from a town that apparently had a very big Sasquatch presence.
I just like the
because there's
idea that
Sasquatches everywhere.
Your shout out is just Sasquatch.
Squatching.
I
Go
know.
squat. Get out in the woods. Squatch.
I feel I was like talking to I think it was Ash from Copulators like recently about how I just am so disappointed of myself that I never went to see the Mothman statue because like I lived within driving distance of it for like most of my life and I like grew up in West Virginia and I just never visited and now I'm like on the other side and I'm like, man, I want to go there.
Way to go.
I know. California's got to have some monster.
Yeah, probably. Like
Garcetti.
all of California. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, pretty much though.
What do you got, Katie?
The thing that I was going to recommend last time that I forgot was from Crook to Cook, Platinum Recipes from The Boss Dog's Kitchen, which is Snoop Dogg's cookbook. And it, number one, it's like, it does have a opening for Martha Stewart because, you know, they're BFFs or whatever, which I think is like one of my funniest like friendships or whatever. And it's like really funny because it's like written like him, but it's and actually like not surprisingly like a very good cookbook. And he does a lot of like, you know, the thing I hate about like celebrity books or cookbooks or like anything like that is they're always like, you know, like if you don't have, it's like the Ina Garden, like if you don't have saffron from the highest peaks of the Mount St. Hel, like whatever. And his is like a lot of just like stuff everybody has, like lemon pepper, seasoning, salt, that kind of thing. And a lot of the recipes look really good. So he's also a fan of pickles. But it's really funny because everything is just like written the way that he talks and it's just like hilarious. So that was going to be my recommendation last time.
I remember you sending me like Snapchats of like pictures from the book and I was just like,
Yeah.
What is happening?
It's so funny. I love it.
All right, hold on. I'm trying to figure out next week.
Me too. Who isn't?
A mood.
I had like a bunch of movies that I put into one of those like contest wheels. I'm just gonna let it pick for me.
Okay.
All right, let's see.
Spin the wheel, make a deal.
Oh, Katie's gonna be real sad.
No, is it bugging?
No.
What is
We
Street trash.
are doing the Evil Dead remake.
No.
Yes. Tight.
I'm so
Oh,
sad.
it's so good.
There are just so many things in that movie that, like, I don't not like it, but there are so many things in that movie that are like the things that I really hate that happen in movies. And like, since I watched it the first time, I'm like, wow, thank God I never have to watch that again.
Not anymore. Now you gotta watch it on Tubi with commercials.
God. Well, I'm not watching the ending.
Well, the ending's the best part.
It's burned into my mind.
Yeah, so Evil Dead remake on Tubi next week for my pick. And then Katie could come up with something for the last week. Do you have
I
you figured it out yet?
no.
Yeah, I figured. It's gonna be like right before we record. You're gonna be like,
Well, I'm
the
also
stuff.
waiting because like I had oh my gosh, this Bigfoot action figure. I like had a bunch of stuff that I wanted to do and now like none of it's free on anything and so I started making another list but I'm like I'm just gonna wait until right before because like knowing my luck.
That's what I
Everything's
was
gonna be
looking
gone.
at, but I specifically looked on Tubi at stuff that like they have the like leaving soon. So
Right.
like none of them were on that. So
Okay.
There you go.
Darn.
I had like 20 movies on the list, and I was like, I don't know, I want to do all these. So, all right. Leave us a review on iTunes, and you can win a shirt. We're doing a contest leading up to episode 100.
Woohoo!
Yeah, leave us a review on iTunes. Send us a screenshot. Email it to IHopeYouSufferPodcast@gmail.com, and we'll do a drawing on the episode, and then announce it like on Instagram and Twitter as well. For episode 100, put 100 episodes giveaway in the subject line, so I don't just delete it assuming it's spam. Follow us on Twitter at IHopeYouSuffer and Instagram at IHopeYouSufferPodcast. Follow Katie at Werewolf Face and buy Animal Crossing art from her. Listen to Kit's other podcast, Riff Raff. Listen to my other podcast, 8K Movie Club. Do all the things that we tell you every week. And go eat some spicy dill pickle chips with marshmallow fluff.
Yes, I will.
Oh, God.
Gross.
It just sounds like indigestion.
Listen, Kit drinks Monster, okay? That's way grosser than my weird things that I eat.
It's all food's pretty gross when you think about it, so.
I was not expecting Monster to be the thing.
Actually, fuck it. We're not doing Evil Dead. Return of the Killer Tomatoes next week.
Yes!
Deal.
I'm gonna make Katie watch 2 movies, and I'm gonna watch fucking 4 of them.
Are there 4?
Yes, but only 2 of them are ever available. But I found there's Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, which you'll watch to do so we'll do like that, and then Return next week, so you can do like, here's what I thought of Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, and then we'll do Return of the Killer Tomatoes. Both those are on Tubi, I believe.
Okay. I know for a while they were on Prime, but
then there's 2 sequels. There's Killer Tomatoes Strike Back and Killer Tomatoes Eat Paris, I think. It's either Paris or France, I forget which one. But those 2, I think, went like out of print pretty quickly. I found them on DVD at like a flea market and bought them. But I haven't actually watched them, so I think I might watch all 4 since we're going to have like a week off or whatever in between recording.
sounds great. Luckily, I have another perfect artistry painting that I did of the Killer Tomatoes.
Alright, yeah. Watch Killer Tomato movies. All food movies, apparently, right now.
Oh, that's true. Shoot, I need to find a food-related one.
Pressure's on.
That just makes it even
I
harder.
just don't... I know, I was gonna say, I just don't know if there's another one.
Alright. I hope you suffer, but why?
Sweaty palm, sweaty palm, sweaty palm.
What is happening?
It's just going to be indecipherable noise.
Eventually.
Just shrieking.
Well, it's always interesting because, like, it's not, like, a lot of times, like, us 3, when we're talking, we'll say something at the same time, but then when you listen to the recording, it's, like, not at the same time. So sometimes it's, like, even if we all do whatever it is at the same time, then it's like, delayed on the actual recording, so you can actually hear, like, whatever we're saying. It's, like, so strange, because sometimes, I don't know, it just sounds like, maybe all podcasts are like that. One of the things I hate the most about listening to podcasts sometimes is, like, the hosts will just, like, repeat what each other say all the time, and I'm like, are they repeating, or are they, like, predictive saying it?
I'm leaving.
Do you know what I mean?
All of this in the episode.
No. This is my philosophy,
Yeah.
Katie's philosophy corner. Do you know what I mean, though? Because, like, sometimes
it just depends.
you'll say something and I'll say it at the same time, but then when I listen to it, it's like one of us is copying the other person. And I'm just like, God, I fucking hate that. But I mean,
I think it
whatever.
just depends. Like, I think you can tell which ones are like recorded in person and which aren't. Well, Lex is eating
Yeah.
a bag.
Get it, Lex.